In this video, we will learn how to interact with arrays and files, how to write from arrays to files, and how to read from files to arrays. So the first one is how to write from arrays to files. And there isn't really anything new here in terms of writing to files. So what you want to do is to create your own or your print writer object and link this to a certain file that you're going to write to. And then using a loop, you're going to loop over the elements of the array and print this to the file using the output file, the print writer object, dot one of the print statements or the print methods, and then you just write these values to the file. And remember, after you're done, you need to close so you can flush the buffer and add everything to the file. So here we have the file codes. Here we don't have any text, but then I will go here and I'm going to create that array, print writer, link it to the values, the text, and then loop over the array until the numbers dot length, one less. And then I'm going to just use the output file dot print line, assuming that I'm going to write each of these numbers into a separate line for the process of reading in the future. So compile, and if I run this one, you will find values was created. We open values, and this is what we get: 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, with a new line here at the end because of the print line. So that's how you write from an array to a file. And you could change this. You could do it like with a print and then with a space after this, something like that. Compile, run, and then we go to values and we find that it's overwritten and the array was written as a single line. So that's completely up to you. Now, the only reason why we just kept it in a separate line is because the process of reading, so now as we move to reading from a file, the process of reading is going to be, to keep it simple, we are going to assume every number we want to read into an array is in its own line. Now that keeps things simple. However, that doesn't mean that this is the only way to read it. You could read numbers that are on the same line. You could read a mixture of data on the same line. So that's completely possible. However, it will take more effort and work to get this done. So for now, we are just going to assume things are simple. Every number is in a separate line. So if we want to do this, the first thing we want to do is to create the array into which we're going to copy the elements from the file. So to do this, you will need to, as we said, you need to create an array, and to create an array, you have to specify the length. So this is the tricky part. You have to actually know the number of elements, and assuming that we know it, we could just hard code that and then create it. Now, if you don't know that, what you could do is that you could go and open the file, go over it one quick scan, and make sure that you have or capture the number of lines in there. Go back, create the array, and then go again, open the file, and start to read the elements one by one. So that's also another possibility. So for now, we will just keep things simple again. As we said, we're just going to hard code the values. We are assuming we are reading 5 elements from a file into an array. So size is equal to 5, that's a constant, and then we use that constant to set or to declare and create the array object. And then what we will do is that we will create our file object with values the text as the file. And then what we will do is that we will link that file to the scanner object so we can start to scan line by line from this file. Then what we will do next is that we go and say while input file that has next, while we have a next line, all right, and I am still below the size of that array. What I want to do is that I want to go to the ith element of the array and assign to it whatever line I'm going to read as an integer. All right, so an input file is the scanner which was linked to the file. This is going to read the next line as a next int, and this value is going to be assigned to I, and then I increment to move to the next one. Then I close my file, and then I'm going to display my array. So if I go to values here and just switch some numbers here, So let's just go and first of all try to switch that to be print line, and then I'm going to compile, run, and get that new values file. Then I'm going to manually switch this to be 100, and then I will go to file array, and I'm going to compile this to read the file. Alright, so here is the displayed array numbers, which copied or read the file 10, 20, 30, 100, the one that we manually changed, 50, and then you have a space here for the next line. So that's how to write and how to read from a file in a very simple way. Of course, if you want to do more than that, and probably you will, right? Things are not that simple all the time, but that's a start. So this is how you start to interact with files in Java.